Hamjambo. Hamjambo tena. Asanteni, asanteni, tuketi. Distinguished guests, led by my good friend and brother, President Mahama, former president of Ghana, fellow Kenyans, today we commemorate our 54th birthday as an independent nation. On this day, 54 years ago, the Union Jack came down and the Kenyan flag went up as a symbol of our nationhood. It was designed to fix our eyes and minds on and always remember three things. First and foremost is that our independence was bought at a great price. The founding fathers of this nation gave their lives for our liberty. The red in our flag is a reminder of the price paid by the veterans of our independence struggle. Second, the flag is a symbol of our identity as Africans. The founding fathers, such as Achieng' Oneko, Bildad Kagia, Kungu Karumba, Jomo Kenyatta, Fred Kubai, Paul Ngei, were all very proud Africans. The black in our flag, therefore, celebrates this African identity. Third, when the founding fathers designed our flag, they wrote our future on it. The green, which symbolizes the natural wealth that we have been given by God, and white, peace that they won for us, and ours is to turn all this into shared prosperity. We thank our founding fathers, and indeed today we pledge again to protect the heritage and the liberty for which they sacrificed so dearly. Most importantly, we commit to work together, harder and in unity, to build a peaceful and prosperous nation. Fellow Kenyans, unity is paramount to the realization of a peaceful and prosperous nation. Every Kenyan must understand its value and how our individual choices, particularly in politics, play into building or destroying it. The unity of our nation is the shield against the dangers that have shattered other countries. It protects us against any enemy by frustrating attempts to divide and therefore weaken us. Unity allows us to forge forward together in building families, communities, counties, and a nation that knows what it wants and where it is going. Every day we see evidence of how much stronger and well-off united families are. It is indeed the same with a nation. Families that are united may disagree on some matters, but they will always be guided by the well-being of the family. And they know that disagreement must never lead to discord. Let us bring this understanding to our citizens so that in our words and in our actions, we reject the politics of divisiveness and confrontation. Fellow Kenyans, today we also celebrate a rebirth of a nation, a shift from the old to the new. Today we celebrate what our founding fathers imagined and created, but we also celebrate the generational transition from their generation to ours. When our founding fathers constituted Kenya, they did it with the fresh wounds from the Independence War. They had conquered the enemy, but the daunting task of uniting our communities into one nation remained. That was why they taught us to celebrate our diversity and to preserve our traditions, but they did caution that we should not poison the minds of our young people with ethnic disharmony. As your fourth president, I will not tire of reminding you that you will have a fifth and even 10th president, but we will not have a second, third, or fourth Kenya. Preserving Kenya is preserving yourself, because Kenya is you, and you are Kenya. I am proud to be a Kenyan, to belong to a nation that has within a few short decades shown the world the excellence of its people, its love of democracy and liberty, and its ambition to be a force for good in our region and the world. I call on all Kenyans to join me in proclaiming pride in our beloved country. Celebrate being a part of a generation that can and will be remembered fondly by those yet to be born for the achievements you will add to those of our forefathers. As your president, I also pledge to you today to continue to work to bring harmony between communities, to deepen our unity, and to foster national cohesion. I want you in this spirit to also turn to the person sitting or standing next to you. Greet them and say how proud you are to be Kenyan, and tell them that you are their keeper, because to be Kenyan, at its core, is about loving your neighbor. My friends, our founding fathers taught us one more thing, that the person who plants is not always the one who harvests. They toiled to plant this nation, though they knew it was their children who would harvest the fruits of their labor. It is our generation that has reaped that harvest, and we have the responsibility of protecting our inheritance, renewing it periodically, so that our children and our children's children can harvest the fruits of our labor. Fellow Kenyans, there is a different thinking that has been evolving. A thinking that offends the principles of the founding fathers, the thinking that promotes the belief that we strengthen the weak by weakening the strong. It wants us to believe that a Kenyan can climb the ladder of prosperity only if he brings down a fellow Kenyan. This thinking has cost us lives and property in the last few months. I condole with those who have lost their loved ones and property in the recent disturbances. Fellow Kenyans, for a long time now, many in our political arena have believed that politics matters more than economic development. We have drawn Kenyans into our squabbles. For 50 years, we have squabbled over politics for politics' sake and squandered economic opportunities that would have made a difference in the lives of our people. My friends, there is abundant evidence that focusing on economic development does transform nations. Over the 50 years, we have seen countries that focused on development and nothing but development leap from poverty to prosperity. Singapore, a city-state, is a shining example. It focused on using politics to build its economy and was so ambitious and disciplined that it became a world leader in multiple sectors. Fellow Kenyans, as Africans, we should not accept poverty as our fate. It is merely the outcome of wrong solutions and priorities. For proof of this, you only need to take a look at the countries that have focused on politics for its own sake, and they abound on our continent. No one has been able to break out into real, and sustained prosperity for its people, and many even have been destroyed through war and conflict. It is time to reject this false notion of politics for politics' sake. Our founding fathers knew that we would never be totally free unless we were also prosperous. Fellow Kenyans, I have seen a future, and it is at hand. The politics and the pursuit of politics for politics' sake must be a thing of the past. The pursuit of political leadership for economic liberation is our future, and it is up to us as Kenyans to deliver it. The future is now. It is about a healthy nation built on equal opportunity for all, dignity for all, and the pursuit of material prosperity for all. As I have stated before, and I repeat, as President of Kenya, I am willing and commit to engaging all Kenyans and all Kenyan leaders, including my worthy competitors, irrespective of their religious or ethnic affiliation, in fashioning this new paradigm shift. During my inauguration address on the 28th of December at this very same stadium, I mentioned the more than 700 campaign rallies that I attended across the entire country. During these rallies, you and I had lengthy and productive national conversation. In our interactions, 4 things emerged as the major concern that deserved our focus over the next 5 years. You indeed told me that a jobless Kenyan is a desperate Kenyan. You told me also that a hungry Kenyan is a negative Kenyan. You told me that a sick Kenyan is a weak Kenyan. And you also told us that a homeless Kenyan is a Kenyan without hope. You, the Kenyan people, spoke clearly. We want dignity. We want to put enough food on our tables. And we want a lower cost of living. We listened. Since, and on reflection, I have come up with 4 responses to these concerns, and I call them the Big 4. Food security, affordable housing, manufacturing, and affordable health care for all. During the next 5 years, I will dedicate the energy, time, and resources of my administration to these Big 4. The Big 4 will create jobs which will enable our people to meet their basic needs. Jobs will transform the lives of our people from that of hardship and want to new lives of greater comfort and well-being. And that is the future that I have seen. In the first pillar of the Big 4, we will focus on creating jobs by expanding our manufacturing sector. Manufacturing is about believing that we as Kenyans can be competitive and ambitious enough to make products that are as good as any other in the world. The selfishness and corruption of some amongst us have allowed counterfeiters and cartels to flourish at the expense of our local manufacturers. As a result, some companies have gravely suffered. It is time for us to say that enough is enough. We must face and defeat these enemies. To conquer these enemies and boost manufacturing requires we keep a common vision and remain focused, and equally critical that our workers must remain in harmony with our employers. Let me emphasize that political stability and harmonious labor relations are the bedrock on which we shall achieve a robust manufacturing sector. In boosting the manufacturing sector, my administration will focus on 4 subsectors: the blue economy, agro-processing, leather and textiles. With the blue economy, we have a total of about 400 kilometers of rich coastline and a share of the second largest freshwater lake in the world. Indeed, it is shameful that we exploit only a small fraction of these God-given resources. Our coastal and marine ecosystems, if properly exploited, would create tens of thousands of jobs for our people. Instead, we have allowed others to take our resources, build their economies, and create jobs for their people at our expense. Today, foreign trawlers enter our waters and return to their countries filled with our fish. This must end. I direct the Ministries of Defense and Agriculture to immediately begin intercepting all illegal fishing vessels and to suspend the fishing licenses of all international trawlers operating in Kenya's territorial waters until they comply with our requirement for local input. These boats must land their catches in Kenya. The work of cleaning and packing fish for export must be done in Kenya by Kenyans. We also want to significantly expand fishing. Instead of the current 2,500 metric tons of fish we process annually, our intention is to process 18,000 metric tons and grow the blue economy sevenfold. This means that young people from Migingo to Bita, from Kiunga to Vanga, from Faza to Chale, will find jobs and reliable incomes as fishermen and fishmongers, as well as processors, wholesalers, and retailers. We will also expand our shipping industry in order to maximize on our maritime opportunities. Turning to leather, every year, Kenyans buy more than 30 million pairs of shoes. As the holder of the third largest cattle herd on Africa, Kenya has enough leather to make all these shoes. Yet we only make a tiny fraction. We must change this and make leather products locally. This way, we can also transform the livelihoods of hundreds of thousands of families. We will ensure that all hides and skins are fully processed locally to support our leather industry. And in this spirit, today we direct that all boots, leather products, and textiles for our disciplined forces be procured from local manufacturers with effect from the financial year 2018-19. However, I add a word of caution. Our disciplined forces are among the best in the world. They deserve first-class goods and services, and I expect our local manufacturers to meet that high standard. On textiles, the American market, through the Africa Growth and Opportunity Act, is open, but we have not yet taken full advantage. We must now strive to make the most of this market. Today, we only realize a fraction of the potential value of the clothes we export to the US. If cotton from the fabric were grown and woven locally, we would raise revenues from the current 30 billion to 200 billion shillings. Under the Big Four plan, we will support farmers to plant cotton, which we will guarantee to buy. We have revived Rivertex and are in the process of reviving other textile plants, and we will now give incentives to investors to build more modern ginneries and textile manufacturing plants. On agro-processing, my administration will support value addition for our agricultural produce. Kenyans need to know that at present, 70% of the value of our export produce goes to processors abroad. When Kanyanyaini Tea Factory produces tea, it is packed, auctioned, and exported. The dealer who brands it for the supermarket abroad makes more than 10 times what the farmer in Kanyanyaine makes. We receive only 30% of the real value of our produce, in addition to losing out on jobs. You know also that coffee is one of the most traded commodities in the world, and Kenya is one of the world's leading producers of high-quality Arabica coffee, yet our returns from the end product of coffee production are minimal. As part of our plan, our tea, our coffee, our meat, fruits and vegetables will now have to be processed locally. This way, we will obtain more value for our produce and create more jobs and wealth for Kenyans. Fellow Kenyans, my administration has already made some early decisions to give our manufacturing the very best chance of growth. First, as I mentioned during my inauguration speech, we have cut the cost of off-peak power to heavy industry by half. Second, we will review our work permit regime and encourage expatriates whose skills support the Big Four. As part of the arrangement, we will also expect our partners to train Kenyans in these skills. Third, the protection of intellectual property rights is a critical factor in supporting the growth of our local manufacturing. Even as we buy Kenya and build Kenya, we cannot enrich fraudsters who masquerade as well-known brands producing dangerous fakes. To protect our manufacturers and consumers from these fake products, such as cosmetics, batteries, and fake kerosene, sham products that endanger the lives of Kenyans, I have already directed that the Kenya Revenue Authority and the Kenya Anti-Counterfeit Authority to from now destroy on site counterfeits upon seizure. Any public officer found colluding to frustrate this process will be summarily dismissed and immediately prosecuted. Fellow Kenyans, we know from experience in other parts of the world the central role small and medium-sized enterprises can play in an economy. Here in Kenya, the bulk of employment comes from SMEs, which are an important contributor to our gross domestic product. Our plan is to create an additional 1,000 SMEs focusing on manufacturing. They will have access to affordable capital, skills and market, and they will accelerate the growth in manufacturing upon which our success depends. I will now speak to the second question that we raised in our conversation: access to affordable and decent shelter. If the fight for independence was about ownership, the dream of our generation is to make every Kenyan a property owner. Owning a decent home is a dream for every Kenyan, and we have to make that dream come true. Take Nairobi as an example. If you rent a house in Kawangware, Kangemi, Githurai, Dandora, then under our plan, for the same amount of money that you pay rent today, you should and will be able to own your own home. And it will be a decent house built to modern standards. It is my intention that by the end of my term, 500,000 more Kenyans will own their own homes. And we shall do this by reducing the cost of mortgages, by cutting the cost of construction through the use of innovative technologies and materials, and by raising low-cost funds from private and public sector for investment in large-scale housing construction. The beauty of this plan is that it also creates, not only does it create decent homes, but also jobs and a market for our manufacturers and suppliers. We look forward to all of this producing thousands of new jobs, but we will not engage our young people to build these homes as mere labor. We will develop their skills, their acumen through our TVETs so that they may excel. We will review legislation on urban planning and zoning to ensure that homes remain affordable. We will continue to issue more title deeds to enable landowners to unlock the financial potential of their property. In this context, we shall shortly present far-reaching amendments to the laws that govern our land and housing, and we will map and use the entirety of our strategic housing land bank. I turn to the third element of our Big Four, and that is universal health care. Indeed, in our conversations, it was obvious that the cost of health care still stresses many families. We can end that pain by providing medical insurance cover for every Kenyan within the next 5 years. That shall entail major policy and administrative reforms in the medical sector to ensure that all of us have access to quality and affordable medical cover by 2022. The plan will of necessity require strong collaboration between the National Hospital Insurance Fund and our private sector insurance providers. We will review the rules governing private insurers to bring the cost of cover within the reach of every Kenyan, to protect both government and Kenyans from fraud and abuse, and to let private insurers invest more in covering Kenyans. The fourth element is food security and nutrition. Since independence, we as a people have sought to ensure that our citizens enjoy food security and proper nutrition. And while we have made good progress, the challenge, however, remains yet to be fully conquered. It is time to address once and for all the multiple and interlocking factors that leave too many Kenyans at risk of hunger. Our immediate actions start now. We will bring targeted taxation to bear to put idle arable land to use. We will continue to encourage and facilitate large-scale commercial agriculture to diversify our staples through irrigation and other technologies. We will protect our water towers. Small-scale farmers will receive better extension services and market access, and subsidies will be redesigned to improve food yields and production quality. With the private sector, we will deal with the challenges of distribution, waste, storage, and value addition that have so long hampered our production. The Ministries of Agriculture and Irrigation will shortly publish the terms and conditions by which commercial farmers will be able to lease idle agricultural land owned by government, the better to raise our production of strategic crops. Fellow Kenyans, the Big Four requires brave steps to lower the cost of doing business across the country. In the last 4 years, we have made tremendous progress in this direction. We cut the cost of doing business by modernizing and expanding our infrastructure. We improved the ease of doing business so successfully that we jumped from number 136 in the world to number 80 in just 4 years. We will build on this rapid progress by taking measures such as cutting the number and costs of permits, licenses at both national and county level. To deliver the Big Four, we will need skilled Kenyans, and that is why we are implementing the new education curriculum to prepare our children to compete with the best in the world. We are also improving the enabling industry-led technical and vocational education and training, and we have taken steps to ensure that the same high standards and professional rigor we use to train our best graduate engineers are replicated also in the vocational training of our fundis, plumbers, welders, and masons. We will also develop more skilled and competitive workers through my administration's planned, paid-for internship program that will lead to the absorption of more than 100,000 young Kenyans into the job market every year. Most of all, the Big Four requires that we build on the foundation we laid in my first term in sectors such as transport, electricity, distribution, education, and ICT. Fellow Kenyans, the big shift from politics for politics' sake to the politics of production is a beacon of hope. However, I know it will attract cynics and pessimists, but we will not be distracted. Let me emphasize that this big shift cannot and will not be achieved by me and Jubilee alone. It will need all of us. Once again, I reach out to all Kenyans to help in achieving our common goal of peace, stability, and prosperity for all. It is our shared responsibility to work for these ends, knowing that we all have a role to play and we all must listen to one another. After all, a good idea must always give way to a better idea wherever it comes from. At independence, our young people were filled with optimism. They were the architects of our republic, and many of them were young people guided by a few elder statesmen. The Independence Constitution was negotiated and crafted by young people. Though a few of our young people have been led astray by ethnic-based divisive politics, I am encouraged by the much larger number of our youth who work hard, who are hustling, who approach challenges as opportunities. You are uplifting your families, your communities, and our nation. My administration will work every day to open up a path for your energy and optimism. Together, we can make Kenya anything that we imagine. This is your moment as young people. I believe in you, and you are my partners. And that is why my Big Four plan is centered on you. You will drive the big shift from politics to prosperity. We will support your small and medium-sized businesses so that you can become even more productive, profitable, and able to hire other young people. My administration will complement the financing by commercial banks by increasing and consolidating all SME financing currently provided under the umbrella of the Kenya Industrial Estates. I have also directed the Ministry of Trade and Industry to establish the SME Support Initiative that will work to help ease the barriers that make it difficult to run and scale up your businesses. Let me conclude by saying that when I took the oath of office in 2013, which was renewed last month, Kenyans did also bestow on me two instruments of power. The first one was the Constitution, and the second was the sword, and I swore to use them to defend and protect Kenya from any form of aggression, internal and external. And that is why I have the responsibility of serving as your President and Commander-in-Chief of our defense forces, and this I will not fail in. Today, I serve notice to those treating our constitutional order with casual recklessness that the Constitution is the general will of all. No one, including myself, is above it. No matter who you are subject to its authority. Anything outside the Constitution is a hostile intrusion. Whoever destroys property, whoever chooses senseless violence over constitutional order, all these are enemies of the Republic, and that is how they will be treated. In closing, fellow Kenyans, I wish to reiterate the point I made earlier. There will be a 5th, 6th, and even 10th President of Kenya, but there will not be a 2nd, 3rd, or 4th Kenya. Leaders come and go, but Kenya remains. Our duties are therefore clear. we must preserve that nationhood. We must achieve the freedom and prosperity that are ours by right. Tutembee pamoja safari hii bega kwa bega. And I believe if we do so, we will have proved ourselves the rightful heirs of that nation that God has given us. Mimi nataka tu kumaliza kwa kuwashukuru wa Kenya tena kwa kunipatia nafasi ya kuongoza taifa letu tukufu kwa muda mwingine wa miaka 5. Na mimi tena natoa hakikisho langu ya kwamba mimi niko tayari kufanya kazi na Wakenya wote, viongozi wote, ndio tuweze kutimiza lengo letu la kuhakikisha ya kwamba tuko na taifa ambalo kila Mkenya, tusipojali dini ama rangi ama kabila, anajivunia taifa lake, anafurahia taifa lake, ana mapato kutoka taifa lake, na hiyo jukumu la tuhitaji sisi wote. Kwa hivyo wenzangu, mimi nasema siasa zimeisha. Sasa ni mipangilio ya vile tutasonga mbele. Na naomba viongozi wote, njooni tushirikiane pamoja. Njooni tushauriane pamoja kwa niaba ya Wakenya ambao wametupatia hii nafasi. Nimalize kwa kusema sasa wakati haswa tunaelekea katika sikukuu ya Krismasi na mwaka mpya. Na nataka niwaombe wa Kenya, haswa madriver wetu, tafadhalini tujichunge kwa mabarabara zetu. Hii siku chache tumepoteza waimbaji wengi, tumepoteza pia pahali hapo kulikuwa accident nyingine juzi. Leo hii pia Bungoma accident ambayo imechukua maisha ya Wakenya wengi. Tafadhalini tujichunge. Let us be cautious on our roads during this festive season. Let us realize, especially those drivers of public transport, that you are not carrying cabbage, you are carrying the lives of people, and you need to take care. And equally, we take this opportunity to also instruct our police force that anybody caught flouting traffic rules, immediate and severe action must be taken against those particular individuals. Kwa hivyo Wakenya wenzangu, nasema asanteni sana. Nichukue nafasi hii kuwatakia Wakenya wote Merry Christmas na mwaka mpya wa fanaka na baraka kwa Wakenya wote. Asanteni sana na Mungu awabariki. Thank you.